How y'all, Wyrm here. Now, first off, before I begin the content of this video, it contains heavy spoilers for the upcoming Endwalker expansion and the main story of the latest patch, which is 5.55, concerning the Sharlayans and some of the plot points. So, if you don't wish to be spoiled, I invite you to look away now. Maybe check out my channel, I have a lot of other videos that don't have spoilers. Thanks everyone. Alright, now onto the video. So, to those who played the main story of patch 5.55, we got some major revelations from Fortunato Levieur. Not only because he took the name Levieur from his children, an act which we'll never forgive, or I won't anyway, but also in confirming Sharlayan's stance on what is happening and choosing not to get involved in the upcoming events called the Final Days, but they're not actually dubbed Final Days officially yet. But it's also an interesting fact that he denied that the Final Days were even a thing, despite the pleas of those present. Now, this struck me, as we see a completely different statement in the Endwalker trailer. He admitted they know about the world falling to ruin, but still choosing to stand by and watch it unfold. Now, the trailer, as we can see, takes place probably midway through the Endwalker expansion, so this is probably halfway through the events of the world literally catching on fire, so they're probably admitting, yeah, we know, but we're still not going to get involved. I'll quote Fortunato from his best quote, which is, "As Sharlayans, it is our task to observe, to chart the course of history, not to change it." Now, having all this new dialogue from the Sharlayan point of view has me understanding them a lot more, but also because of real world events that have happened in our own ancient history, that echo the Sharlayan's choice to stand by while the rest of the world falls to ruin. Now, Sharlayan society maintains a stance and policy of neutrality. This is nothing new. They've held this policy for a long time. They evacuated their settlements in the Dravanian hinterlands after Alamigo fell to the Garlean Empire, them choosing not to get involved any further than the emissaries they sent to Garlemald on Bjorze's behalf, which of course amounted to nothing. The Sharlayan nation is pretty interesting in the fact that they're a nation of scholars and learned individuals. They're known to hoard vast arrays of knowledge, much of which has been lost from the rest of the world's memory or record, and they don't share it lightly, if at all. They keep vast libraries of books, scrolls, artifacts and other items safe from harm, so that knowledge may not be lost in wars or catastrophes, but more importantly, calamities. This makes sense on the source, considering the calamities have been a constant of life since the beginning of recorded history, most knowledge getting wiped out after each calamity. Sharlayan acts as a hub for such knowledge, to be preserved and studied in a safe environment. This is something echoed in our own world history since the beginning of recorded history, and likely long before. Throughout history, nations and cities have hoarded and protected knowledge to ensure its survival. Sadly, history for us has shown that most of our recorded history was lost with those who wrote it, but also in the destruction of the great libraries of the world. Now, this is the main point of my video. Sharlayan reminds me a lot of the Great Library of Alexandria. A place I'm familiar with as I've been fascinated by it since I was a child, and I've done a lot of personal study on the subject. Founded roughly around 323 to 283 BC, the Great Library of Alexandria was founded in the dense city of Alexandria, a major city of the time for its art, knowledge and beauty, but also because it was a hub for trade and commerce, as was Egypt during this time. A perfect place for the library to exist, for it was protected and with all the visitors the city got, many bringing new scrolls, new knowledge of interest to the library's scholars. They were even known to pay greatly for any new scrolls or knowledge that was not contained within the library, prompting travellers to visit with new knowledge from faraway lands. We don't know exactly how many, but estimates put it between 40,000 to 400,000 scrolls laid recorded in the Great Library. That's the equivalent of around 100,000 books. Now think about that, 100,000 books is no small amount. The Great Library of Alexandria was gigantic. People travelled from all over to visit the library and learn from its vast recorded knowledge, much of which was now lost save for the Great Library's copies. However, the worst fears of the library's scholars and patrons came to light. When Julius Caesar was in Alexandria fighting his civil war, he had many ships burned in the harbour. Reports state that the fire spread and burned the library, resulting in the loss of countless scrolls within. The library wasn't completely destroyed, however, and it was quickly rebuilt afterwards. But unfortunately, as Alexandria fell under Roman rule, the library's place and status waned, as did its knowledge. We don't have a clear record of this, but during a battle to capture Alexandria around 272 AD, much of the city was laid to ruin, and likely the library and most of its contents fell with the city. In those moments, most of the world's written history was wiped out, which is why today we have such massive gaps in the world's written history. Like there's literally gaps of hundreds of years that we have no record of because they were destroyed in such catastrophes as the burning of the Library of Alexandria. This isn't the only case though. Many libraries came before and after Alexandria, meeting a similar fate. An example is the Library of Wisdom in Baghdad, then a major city and hub for knowledge, but it was burned to the ground by the Mongols in the 13th century, and as such the future would suffer the loss of the world's memory yet again. Now you're probably thinking, what's my point? When I look at Sharlayan, and them choosing to stay out of all these potential world-ending events, I can't help but think about the great libraries of the past. Sharlayan at this point, in my view, is the world's memory. If Sharlayan burns, then all that knowledge would be lost. It makes sense then that they would be neutral and seek to protect themselves and the knowledge of their library from the final days, which is literally ravaging and burning the world around them. I think, despite the words of Fortunato and Gridania, he knew exactly what was happening. But true to his stance and that of Sharlayan's forum, of staying neutral and choosing not to share or assist, and the fact that his children were trying to drag Sharlayan potentially into the Garlean Empire's crosshairs, was enough for him to sever their ties with him and Sharlayan, to ensure Sharlayan's neutrality while they look to secure their own borders and ensure the knowledge they have hoarded survives this coming calamity. And literally everyone, that's everything I wanted to say. This has just been my personal viewpoint on Sharlayan. I've had this viewpoint for a good while, but it was mainly just the dialogue in the latest main story that actually just clicked it in my mind, because I've always associated Sharlayan with the great libraries of the past. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative. If you liked it, hit that like button, and if you want to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. But importantly, leave a comment with your personal thoughts on Sharlayan or any of the other topics that I actually brought up in the video. I'd love to hear your personal viewpoint. Thanks all, and as always, have a good one.